You know, I'm a bottom feeder to this day. I mean, I realize if I ever really got digitally literate enough to start going crazy buying things on eBay, I would be broke in a month. I'm thankful that I don't have like alcohol addiction or drug addiction. It doesn't really run in my family. Vinyl addiction is another matter. So I got to be careful. And I try to set limits. When I was a teenager, when I got to slowly go through Trade Tape and listen to every record in the store to see what it was. Okay, this is a 10-cent record. Okay, when this drops to $1, I'm going to pick it up. Okay, Space Ritual, Hawkwind. This is so goddamn good. I got to pay full price for this right now. Still my second favorite record ever next to Funhouse. Oh, come on, what was else? Oh, yeah. That doesn't look like much. On the back, if you can actually read that, his bio is what makes it fun. Well, it basically, it's country music demos where this guy, Marlin Wallace, would get other people to come and sing them, apparently recruiting them out of bars and stuff while he would conduct exactly how he wanted it sung. And most of it is pretty normal, little orphan girl, whistling Bill, how it feels to be alone. But then there's abominable snow creature hiding in the snow. When I heard that on a little tape that Lloyd Hicks from the Skeletons sent me, because they were both in Springfield, Missouri, I almost wrecked my car. I was laughing so hard. And then you get to the liner notes. My mother was against communism, but blah, 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 blah. And he goes on to show how the communists are firing laser beams into his nuts and doing other terrible things. You know, it's very detailed about what the communists have been up to and why they chose poor Marlin Wallace to do this to him. I have no idea. Before I was exposed to rock, I still really even liked music when I was that big. My parents were still listening to some folk stuff then, Pete Seeger, Joan Baez, Gateway Singers. They're mainly classical people, so probably I know a lot of major classical pieces, but don't know who wrote what because I just heard them through the wall all the time. There were a few ethnic records too. I mean, my dad had a minor in anthropology. He was a social worker, psychiatric social worker, so he was curious about these things. Yeah, we could agree on Carl Orff, love Carmina Burana. But then also, he had this, the Azuma Kabuki musicians, which I heard a lot when I was real little, and then when I'd moved all from heavy rock into more psychedelic and the better side of prog rock in my late teens, my pothead days might have had something to do with that. You know, I burned up my Robert Plant voice smoking weed when I was 18. But then I thought, I wonder what this is going to sound like now. And so I find it in the parents' record collection, put it on when we're all doing bong hits back in my bedroom, and it blew everybody away. Why didn't George Harrison listen to this instead of all that Indian music? This is so much cooler. I mean, some of it was so driving on this particular record. It reminded me of Hawkwind or something. It had that pulse to it. And it's the only record trade I ever had to negotiate with my own father. I traded him an Eric Satie album to get it. Meet the Christian Shags. On top of their little van saying Jesus is a soul man with a phone number for their manager, Electric Norm. Norm was the father. They're all brothers. And can any of them sing to save their life? No. It's definitely one of the most charmingly incompetent garage bands of the 60s. And on top of it, we're happy, happy Christians in service of the Lord. Yeah, this is a repro, but humble beginnings. Check out Bob Marley in the middle there and Peter McIntosh. But I don't know how much this got around. I found it in Jamaica. I love Danger House in Lyon in France. I only went there one night after a gig. You know, we were there till the sunrise, and I barely got through the store, and I ran out of money. And it was all a really small room with drawers and everything, which is kind of common in Europe. And, you know, there's stoner rock section, just about the best I'd ever seen. French 60s, unbelievable. French punk, past and present. Every category you want, except crappy pop music. what else? More of that. Music for plants. And you'd never guess that this is Mort Garson, the same guy who made Black Mass by Lucifer and Sounds of the Occult by Ataraxia. He made a sex one, he made a plant one, and they all sound the same, and they're all great. Found out about this amazing Peruvian psychedelic band, proggy band from 60s, maybe early 70s called Traffic Sound. And just reading about, I mean, sometimes I come up with great music in my head just reading a description of a rare record and imagining what it sounds like. And then sometimes I got my own cool song. You never know. And then I saw that their first album, Bailar a Go-Go, you'd never guess this is one of the great heavy rock records in my whole collection. And even though they do great covers of Fire by Hendrix, You Got Me Floating, Sky Pilot, Destruction, their own stuff is the best thing on the record. And apparently a beat-up copy got sold at the time for $3,000. So when I saw one that was supposed to be near pristine and whatnot, knowing it was going to be crackly anyway, because look where it came from, it's from Peru. And I thought, you know, $300, if the beat one went for $3,000, I should get this. And sure enough, the guy still had it. So I got that, and then for something like 50 or so, I got their second one, was even more of a holy grail one musically called Virgin. Then about, I don't know, 2 months after Bailar a Go-Go arrived at my house and I played living daylights out of it, the reissue came out. And it was a legit one from the Masters, really sounded good and everything. And, oh well, but still, there it is, a real copy of Bailar a Go-Go. I never collected records so I could have a lot of records. I didn't want to become the Citizen Kane or Imelda Marcos of records. I don't chase them because, you know, oh, this might sell a lot on eBay, or oh, now I have this and you don't. I just started building up the albums when I was in high school and could really start getting a lot of stuff as an arsenal, a fallout shelter, if you will, against bad radio. So I would never have to wait through, oh yeah, now we're going to play a new cut from the new Dave Mason album. I didn't have to deal with that anymore. I don't collect records so much as I collect songs. I'm kind of the literal definition of a singer-songwriter. I sing, and I write most of my own music, including most of the Dead Kennedy songs and stuff. So I guess the way I practice my instrument is listening to all these other people's songs, and it just gets ingrained in me. There are many Batman records, but you know the story of that one, right? It's Sun Ra. Needs some money one day, make a Batman record. And there's Blues Project people backing him on it and stuff too. And it still turns up in thrift stores, yes. Oh, you can't go wrong with Robbie the Werewolf. This is an early 60s folk record, but it's horror novelty stuff. You know, I am going down to the blood bank to make a withdrawal, and some folks say I'm a werewolf, others say I'm a ghoul, but I'm just a natural bone vampire man looking for a bloody fool. Looking for a bloody fool. What also struck me about this is the graphics like that they didn't really go to town with us again till Tim Warren and his Crypt label, which kind of became the last word in this kind of stuff. But he was doing it clear back then. Funny, wild, sick. Recorded live at the Whaleback in Santa Monica. I came from what was basically a cultural desert as far as I was concerned. Bought a lot of my favorite albums on hunches originally. I've always known the value of having a really cool, really provocative album cover that, like, you know, it's going to make somebody else thumbing through a bin pick it up. What is this? And look at it. And then you get those song titles and everything else. And so many people have come up to me over the years and said, yeah, I bought one of your records just because I couldn't believe anybody would call a band Dead Kennedys. And then I saw the art. And then I saw the songs. I brought it home and it changed my life. I try to make my my art stick out. I mean, there's lots of examples. Of course, that's another one Tipper Gore and Pat Robertson didn't like very much. This is one of the European ones where the cross is bigger because we couldn't make it that size in America or risk being busted for counterfeiting. The American one is smaller as a result. And since everybody else in your show shows it off, yeah, there's plastic surgery disasters. And when this came out, people said, God, that's kind of dumb. You're doing a joke on E.T. That's not E.T., my friends. That's somebody in the Sahel in Africa who hasn't eaten in a long time. That may or may not be Liv Ullmann's hand. I can't remember. It was, I think, something in the British Grand. There's Charles Gatewood took that one on the back. You know, I like the double whammy all the time. You pick this up, then you pick that up, and of course, then you get the song titles as a way of motivating you to maybe take this home. You know, I think the only reason these are surviving at this point is not just because of the last vinyl junkies like me and the hip-hop DJs and everybody else, but now people are realizing they want to have something they can hold in their hand and they can read the writing and all that. Although, it's weird to me that some people buy vinyl now, they get their little download card, put the music on their iPod, and put the vinyl away so they can show their friends they have the vinyl even though they've never listened to it and may not even own a turntable. One thing I've always tried to do, I mean, a lot of these Dead Kennedys and others and Lard, you'll notice there's a lot of them around. And there wasn't some limited edition this or deliberately rare that. You know, as a collector, I always felt my own music should be available and affordable for everybody. So I've almost never done limited edition anything on my own. But, okay, we're going to launch it with a single, but right on the front for that audience, collector's item, limited edition picture disc, hole drilled through every copy so you can only possess it, not play it. Isn't that what underground music is all about these days? Sold out in 15 working days, like 2,000 or 3,000 of them. So I finally got to have my dream come true, a picture disc with an X-ray of a two-headed baby on it. But then the pressing plant, I thought they were going to put one of these holes in it, but the only one they could get to work at the same time was the wide 45 hole, so they all came out looking like that. So you not only can't play it, you really can't play it. So then the returns started coming back to Mordam, our distributor. We didn't know you weren't going to be able to play it. It says so right here, you stupid clowns. I have a really hard time being patient with people who kind of get locked into one era. Oh, there's no good music after the grunge era. There was no good music after the 60s. Wrong, people. You know, you want that energy you liked when you were a kid? Put down the needle, leave your home, and go see somebody new at random. You never know what's going to happen to you and stuff. I mean, I started a label not because I wanted to be a record entrepreneur. I wanted to, you know, document other bands. But overall, I think the best era for music is right now. And the reason I do is because everything is available. Everything. Imagine trying to find fresh rockabilly records in 1975 or something. It's not like that anymore. And you can get anything on there. I mean, 30s radio shows thought lost turned up on Napster and nobody thought they were around anymore, and there they were. You know, now somebody who really, really wants to explore music, you don't have to do this anymore. You can just get it all on your iPod and then you've got the stuff. And I think people maybe look for magic accidents in a different way now, and may even, you know, if they're just starting out, rely on YouTube or what's getting a lot of hits and things like this. But everybody's got to start somewhere and explore their own way. She's named Blaze because she looks like a burnt redwood tree. And she's named after Blaze Starr, the stripper, because I had a girlfriend who was going into burlesque at the time. Blazy knows not to walk on records, right? Her predecessor, Mothra, liked to tear them up.